Hello, second grade artists. Oh my goodness, I miss you so much in the art classroom. Today, we are going to start creating marker prints. Our next unit of art we were going to start creating in our art classroom was printmaking. So printmaking is the process of transferring an image or a texture to another image or texture. So we're going to start off with something really basic for our first printmaking project. You've actually done a printmaking project, if you can think way back to when you were little itty bitty kindergartners, when you made your beautiful glove prints. You did a printmaking project by using styrofoam to carve into and transfer your patterns onto your artwork. So we're going to be doing something similar today, just with different materials. Now I know since we are home, not everybody has the same art materials at their house, so I made sure to go with something super basic today. So today, before you start the video, I want you to find these objects. You need to find a piece of paper. White piece of paper, can be any size, it can be computer paper, it can be thicker paper, it is your choice. If you'd like to cut it out into an interesting shape, that's fine. This is where we're headed, but this is where we started. So make sure that you have a white piece of paper. And you're going to need a permanent marker. This is really important. It has to be permanent. If you use like a Crayola black marker, it's not gonna work. So you need a black marker. You know my favorite is Sharpies. And then you will need washable markers. So I just have my good old-fashioned Crayola markers. If you just have a couple, that's fine. You only really need one color, but if you want to make yours extra colorful, see if you can find as many as you can around your house. Then some of the more interesting materials you're going to need are either a piece of aluminum foil or a Ziploc bag. Both of them work. You only need one. You don't need a very large piece. I took a piece about this large. It just needs to be big enough that your paper fits on it. So I have both. You choose which one you'd like to work with. In the video, I'm going to be using aluminum foil, so you can follow along with that. And then the last material that you're going to need is water and a sponge. So I just have a good old kitchen sponge I snatched from my kitchen. You'll notice one side of mine has texture. You don't want to use that rough surface. You're going to want to use that squishy soft surface. And then your sponge needs to be wet. My sponge is dry, so I have a little squirt bottle of water, but as long as you get your sponge wet, you should be fine. So those are the materials you need. Go find them, come back to me, and we'll start creating. I cannot wait to see your beautiful first printmaking projects. Bye friends, see you soon.
All right, artists, let's get started. Here's a reminder of the supplies that you will need: a white piece of paper, a permanent marker, some of your Crayola washable markers, a wet sponge, some water, and either a Ziploc bag or some aluminum foil. We are going to be creating a marker print with these supplies. We are going to be transferring our marker onto a drawing that you create with your Sharpie. So the very first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to decide, do you want your artwork tall, vertical, or do you want it long, landscape? I'm going to have mine be landscape because I'm going to choose to write my name. Now this is where you can get really creative, friends. You can draw whatever you like. I'm gonna link some how to draw videos to this as well. So if you wanna watch some videos and learn how to draw different animals or different types of objects, please feel free to do that. For my project, I chose to write my name using block lettering. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish doing that, and then I will show you the next step. Now that my drawing is finished, I'm going to grab either my aluminum foil or your clear Ziploc bag. It doesn't matter which one you choose, the process will be the same. Just make sure that it is large enough to fit your paper. The next step is adding your color with your Crayola markers onto that foil or to that Ziploc bag. I like to kind of map out where my paper fits. That way I make sure that my color fits all the way across my paper. I'm going to create a tie-dye effect using my Crayola markers. I started in the middle with, of course, red, and then I work out from the center going in Roy G. Biv order. You do not have to do the same thing that Mrs. Gertler does. I encourage you to try different colors. What happens if you mix all of the cool colors together? What happens if you mix the warm colors? Just make sure whatever you do that you fill that entire space with your markers. If you leave any space empty, it's going to show up white on your print. I'm making sure that I'm getting my marker all the way to that edge that I mapped out. That way I know that there will be color all over my paper. When I'm finished adding color, the next step is to get your sponge out and you're going to get it wet. You don't want it dripping wet, you just want it to be damp. So I'm going to spray my paper and then wipe it with my sponge. You could also take your wet sponge and rub it across your paper. You just want to get your paper wet. Once it's wet, lay it down so that your artwork that you drew is touching the marker, and then you need to rub. I use my sponge to help make sure that I get pressure on every part of my paper. You're going to notice your fingers and your paper get a little messy. That's okay. And then when you're finished, peel it off and you will have a beautiful marker print.